For this video, we're joined by a lot of the tech YouTube scene and also written journalists in the technical hardware review space. Just a quick note here, this was filmed at the Intel event before any of us knew about the Principled Technologies benchmarks or any of that, so there's no context of that here. Instead, what we'll be talking about is entirely about the 9900K reveal, the 9980XE reveal, what are the concerns and what are the things that we thought were good, but there's zero discussion about the Principled Tech testing because it either didn't exist publicly yet or we didn't know it existed yet because we're at the event. So for this video, we have Bitwit Kyle, we have Paul, or Paul's Hardware, we've got Joker Productions, Jeff Kampman from Tech Report, Gordon from PC World, Rob Williams from TechGauge, and Marco Chiappetta from Hot Hardware. Before that, this video is brought to you by EVGA's RTX 2080 Ti XE Ultra video card. We recently used this to beat our Founders Edition overclocking results with its additional power target headroom and cooling capabilities. The XE Ultra uses a 2.7 extra thick heatsink for quiet operation under low loads, but also maintains higher clocks on average over the FE model. Learn more at the link in the description below. And first up, I've got Bitwit Kyle. How's it going, Bitwit?
How's it going? Hey.
So Kyle's got a YouTube channel. You should probably check it out. I'll link it below. Kyle, for the launch event here, is there anything that you found particularly interesting, good, bad? How do you walk through this?
I think the thing that excited me the most was it was finally nice to. Is it okay if you hold it? Are you?
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just trying to make your life easy. I was pretty excited about the stim, or the soldered TIM, which is, I think, something that we've all been looking forward to. It was nice to have that final confirmation from Intel today. It'll be kind of interesting to see where the whole delating community goes with this, right? I'm sure it's not going to stop anyone from still trying to pry it open and see what can be done there, but I think it's definitely exciting. The 5 gigahertz out of the box is pretty cool too. Obviously, we'll be able to overclock that well beyond 5, it seems, and pricing is pretty much in line with what a lot of the rumors said, at least for the 9900K, and I think it's fair. I mean, obviously, we'll have to wait till we test it first, but I think also for me as a content creator, it kind of is a nice sort of stopgap between what was like the previous generation and like the high-end desktop platform. So you don't have to fork out quite as much money. And we've been hearing rumors and stuff from guys like Asus who are maybe coming to the market with 32 gig DIMMs, right? So I mean, even if you only have dual channel memory, it's looking pretty good for a content creator's perspective. So yeah.
Round 2 for Overclocking Wars?
Yeah, you know what? I didn't really quite get there to round 1, so maybe this is my chance for redemption. I'm excited.
All right, so check out Bitwit's channel. I'll link it below. And next up, we'll talk to Paul. So next up, I've got Paul from Paul's Hardware here. We are settling our overclocking battle with violence.
Fisticuffs?
Fisticuffs.
Well,
so Paul, what did you think of this?
all right, so I'm always initially excited about these because new hardware is kind of our thing. So, but of course we must be critical as well. So, I mean, really it's going to come down to testing benchmark performance. They seemed very positive about the gaming performance of the 9900K, and that's to be expected. So, yeah, the pricing is still tends to be a little bit high on the high side for Intel. I'd like to see them do less of the here's our comparison to AMD and how we're beating them, and more of a here's our comparison to AMD and how we're becoming more price competitive with them, which we didn't really see very much of here. So,
how did you feel about the 9980XE's benchmarks they showed? Where it was what, Maya game compiling and Premiere or something? And were you looking for more there?
I was looking for more. I think we were sitting next to each other, and I mentioned it seems like all of the stuff that they're testing the 2990WX and comparing it to their new 18 core is the stuff that the 2990WX is the worst at. Like Premiere game performance is really bad on the 2990WX because of latency between all of the cores. So it's not really the best comparison there. But it does seem interesting that it seems like there's an emerging third market for the CPU space right now. There's the really high core count stuff, really CPU intensive stuff. There's sort of the mid-range that they're trying to pitch at the creator/gamer, where it's got your good gaming performance but also high core count for video rendering and that kind of thing. And then of course the mainstream stuff that's strictly just for gaming, or maybe you're gaming and streaming. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, I guess, over the next year or so.
Yeah, so as I said before, channel's linked below. That's Paul from Paul's Hardware, and I guess we'll revisit the overclocking battle potentially with this one as well.
Yeah, we got to get the 9980
9980XE?
980XE and overclock that and beat our scores.
Yes. All right, check that out below. We'll get Joker up next. Okay, so now we've got Joker here from Joker Productions, also on YouTube. And Joker, same question. What'd you think of the event? Any goods and bads?
Well, I was trying to find the water chiller off stage somewhere, but it seemed like they were actually running the 28 core just on a normal liquid cooler. But I will continue my investigation as I'm going around the area. A lot of these desks seem to be open, but some are closed, so
Might be tucked away underneath somewhere.
it could be tucked away somewhere like other things are tucked. Never mind. But so I'm excited for the i9, 8 cores and everything like that. Hopefully same at 5 gigahertz, depending on how well they overclock. I was a little miffed about the removal of hyperthreading though on the i7s. It seems kind of weird that they are choosing to segment it that way rather than cores. It would have seemed to make more sense for the i7 to continue being 6 cores with 12 threads, and then have the i5 6 cores, 6 threads. I thought that would have made a lot more sense than making it 8 cores, 8 threads, because there's really no reason to pick one up over an 8700K, depending on what the performance actually is.
I would agree with that. That was an odd decision.
Yeah, I mean, even though they're not physical cores, having 12 threads is still going to be better in multi-threaded workloads traditionally. If you're doing rendering or streaming or whatever, it's going to help you out more than just having the physical 2 more cores.
Right, definitely. Anything? What about the 18 core part? Any thoughts there?
I still want to know how it's running on all cores once turboed. I hear that you were curious about that as well.
Yeah, so and we'll have an update to this in the article by now, but I asked several times, what is the all-core frequency? Are you not going to answer the question? And after the event, someone came over and answered the question. And so the answer was the single-core frequency for the 18-core part is 4.7 gigahertz, and the all-core frequency is 3.8 gigahertz. So that was the answer that we could not get.
Significantly lower, basically.
Yeah, but not low enough to shy away from it. So I think someone just genuinely didn't know the answer or something to that effect.
And my question for you now is, do you plan on taking one of these and overclocking it and then putting Paul and Jay resting in peace again and re-overclocking and trying to get a better time by extreme score? Are you going to beat them further? Are you going to just keep digging? Are you going to get Gerbauer?
You can only kick a man when he's down so much, Joker. Yes. I have morals.
And also, with them doing the soldered TIM now, they pretty much kind of killed the delitting business overnight, right? Like, I mean, people like Gerbauer who make delitting tools, pretty much killing that business right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen to that. I talked to Roman before about that at Computex, and he said he'd personally prefer solder anyway because it makes his overclocking life easier. Yeah. But it is a market that dies.
For sure.
So that's kind of sad. But Joker's channel below if you want to check him out. Thank you for joining me, to all the YouTubers here. And I'm going to see if I can get Gordon on camera as well. So now I'm here with Gordon Unn from PC World. Gordon joined us previously at after PAX, after that panel. And Gordon, same question for you as everyone else. What do you think's good? What are you concerned about? What are you excited about?
The good news is obviously there's a sale on thermal interface material. Intel's got like a truckload of solder. They're all soldered. Everything's soldered. So that's good news. I do want to say one thing to the community who have, for years and years and years, have said, oh, where's my paste TIM? It's just paste TIM. Where's the solder? Well, you got solder now, so you can't complain about them giving you solder. So I just want to make sure people got that straight. Solder, they get solders back. You can't now ding someone for giving what you've asked for. Pricing is going to be an issue, right? I think it's interesting. Intel made this claim that it's the world's best gaming processor. I know a lot of AMD fans are going to be all pissy about that, but let's face it, 8700K had the higher clocks. 9900K's got the higher clocks. They're going to probably hold that position, and I think Intel's like, hey, you want cores and you want high clocks? You're going to have to pay a couple $100 extra bucks for it. I think there's people that will do it. They don't have a problem with that because Intel plus higher clocks, they will do it. But yeah, for a lot of people, they're going to say, hey, 2700X with the cooler, that's it's better for me. But I do think there's some concern for that. I am still trying to sort out the Core X parts, which are the Skylake X parts with, basically take Skylake X with paste TIM, put in solder TIM, higher clocks, better part. So I think it'll be a better part overall. There were always those power issues with overclocking. I don't think that's going to go away necessarily, so there are going to be problems with that, but I think it's a good sign because overall Intel it's a big ship. It's moving back into what everybody's been asking for, so we'll see how it plays out. And of course that 28-core part is, interesting. We don't have a price on it. Who knows? But it's just there to make sure they can say they're first. I like to say companies like to have moral high grounds. Intel's like to have the moral high ground, even though they're not a better deal for consumers. They don't really care about that. They want to care about we have more performance, which I'm gonna try to look at the camera. Steve says people don't look at the camera. I'm looking at the camera. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's a good thing. I kind of wish they would compete on price as somebody who likes cheaper things. I don't think Intel wants to go there, because I mean, probably what would happen is Intel would go to 350 on the 9900K, and then AMD, oh great, that's nice, we're cutting 2700X to $200, right? And it's like, Intel doesn't want to chase AMD all the way down there. They like money. They have to pay for all these fabs. So, but overall, it's still a good thing. We'll have to see how everything stacks up in actual performance, for the most part. So, and it's good. Overall, it's good, right? How could you say anything negative? Except for the people like, oh, why didn't you do solder before, Intel? Those people.
Well, it's here now.
Yeah,
so
it's here now. So stop your complaining about the solder.
We'll see. We'll see how it does. And of course, now people are going to complain that they can't delit it anymore, right? You can't win.
You can't win. You can't win. It would be like, right. You're because people say like, why can't? It's too hard to. I'm breaking it because I went to. Well, then just go with the don't need to delit it then. But then I don't know. Solder's back. It's good. You've been asking for years. I think we all have been saying it's good. But, good point. I was talking to them about earlier. It's like, hey, you know what? Devil's Canyon, we use that. That was just stuff we got at Radio Shack, right? They work fine. So it wasn't. In fact, they call it something else, but it was not. But, I mean, clearly you could do high clocks with the paste before. But, yeah, solder's better. So, it's good. It's good. It's good. Pricing, not good. Solder, good. Pricing, 28 core releases here. It's going to come out in this year, so it'll be. I'm surprised they're not using Core i9 though, but that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I am too. So that's Gordon from PC World.
Oh wait. Last thing. Do you think, Steve, they were throwing shade at AMD? Because it's like, oh look, because we had to go to this big socket for 6 channels of memory. You need more memory bandwidth. You have a lot of cores. I think that memory bandwidth is going to be a problem for Threadripper at the high end.
Maybe you've done more Threadripper 2 testing than I have at this point, so you would know better. But I think for sure there were some comparisons to AMD, and they did say we benchmarked the other guys too, right? But most of those comparisons were things that AMD is just really not good at.
Right.
And everyone knows that.
Right.
And of course, AMD does mostly the same thing as well. I'll give AMD some credit. Lately, when they've shown gaming benchmarks, they do actually show when they lose sometimes. Like they'll say we're negative 7%, but they never say we're negative like 30%, right? So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, it's nice to see people being a little more honest, but they always tend to show when they're doing better. Premiere is interesting. They're saying that was a memory bandwidth workload, so I guess we'll see when we get all these parts. But definitely, I think it's going to be an issue for Threadripper. I mean, it feels like we'll get Threadripper to 32 core for high compute tasks. Things where memory bandwidth matters, you got to go to the Xeon part, right? So we'll see.
Right, and also frequency, of course. So.
Yeah, and frequency. So yeah, that's 2 out of it's but then it's going to be cost too, because we don't know what the cost of this part is, and since the 18 core i9 or the 9th gen Core i9 is still $2,000, where do they come in on that? I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a rumor of $5,000 on that, but that's,
Yeah, it's a rumor, but
yeah,
the price is probably the least rigid part of any spec sheet, right? That's the one they can change the easiest. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah. So check out PC World for sure. They have a podcast on YouTube that I was on previously. And they've got the website, of course, PCWorld.com. And thank you, Gordon, for joining me.
Thanks.
So now I have Rob Williams from TechGauge here. If you don't know who Rob is, Rob has it's a website, techgauge.com, and you started doing YouTube recently too, right?
Yes, I have.
So Rob does some of the best, I guess, workstation testing I've seen in the space. Definitely check him out if you're interested in that. And has a unique perspective for this then. So same question as everyone else. What do you think was good? What do you think was bad? Anything you're excited about or concerned about?
For one thing, I'm really happy about the new 9900K. I think it's a cool processor because it's the fastest all-core turbo. How can you not like that? 8-core is going to be good for well-rounded consumers, high-end enthusiasts even, who don't need the high-end, the X series or whatever. So, and they're using good TIM now, so I mean that's one of the biggest takeaways from this for sure.
And just to clarify for the audience, TIM is just thermal interface material, which you all know, of course, but it doesn't mean thermal paste. A lot of people get that mixed up. So solder is still TIM, and they're using solder. So soldered TIM, yeah. Anything that you were concerned about, you're annoyed with?
Yes, I don't understand why the 9700K was increased in price while hyperthreading was removed. We got 2 extra cores, right? Still an 8-thread processor, so they increased the price, and yeah, just to differentiate from the 9900K, I don't really like that too much. They shouldn't have downgraded it as far as I'm concerned, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's an unnecessary level of product segmentation,
Exactly.
I think. So how about on the high end? I guess it's still Skylake X, right?
Yes,
So
exactly.
Any thoughts on that part?
I don't know. It's what we're given. We can't really do anything about it, right? So, I mean, we can be happy that they're putting good thermal interface material in there now, because, I mean, the 16-core and 18-core last gen, right, the X series, when you ran an AVX 512 test, they got so hot. So I'm just looking forward to actually less temperatures, especially for such a beefy core chip. Yeah, definitely.
So that's Rob from TechGauge. We'll have his link below as well. So now we've got Marco Chiappetta from Hot Hardware. Hot Hardware does a lot of news reporting. They also have a YouTube channel. We'll link them below too. Marco, same question for you as everyone else. What do you think's good? What do you think's bad? Anything you're excited about?
Yeah, so I think there's lots of good stuff. First, I'm happy that there is some a fire under Intel, and we're seeing lots of new enthusiast-targeted stuff. Everything from the enthusiast standpoint, except for maybe pricing, looks good. You know, you have higher frequencies, better gaming performance, and new products for creators as well, so you get those really many core processors. There's lots of variety to choose from. There are some things to be concerned with. Pricing is one thing to be worried about. Some of the higher end parts, you know, they're being billed as new processors, but it's still Skylake X. So with higher frequencies, there's potential for some serious power consumption there. Hopefully those soldered TIMs help with temps, but we'll see how it all plays out when we test them, you know.
Yeah, any thoughts on so they listed TDPs as always, 95 watt for the 9900K, I think is what it said. I mean, any thoughts on that? You think that's a valid measurement of anything, or?
So the 9900K is a new chip. So until we test it, it's really, I'm going to have to take Intel at their word. I think power is going to be okay on the 9900K. You know, they've had time to tweak their process. It's not new core technology, but it is a new piece of silicon. So I think that's going to be all right. The other chips, I think, is questionable. You know, getting higher frequencies out of a 28-core chip, it's going to use a lot of power. There's no cheating the laws of physics. That's how it's going to be. You know.
Despite Intel literally saying we had to break the laws of physics to bring you these parts, which gotta say is probably not what happened, but exactly. It's okay to say they think it's fast. Anything you think about? What about the 9980XE, the 18-core high-end part? Any specific thoughts there?
Until I test it, I'm not going to draw any conclusions. I think it's going to be, you know, if you're familiar with the 7980XE, I don't think it's going to be a world of difference from there. I think obviously you're going to have higher overall perf because of the frequencies, better overclocking and thermals because of the new TIM. I think I'm sort of excited from a technology standpoint for that unlocked Xeon. I know that's going to be super power hungry, but having an unlocked crazy high-end Xeon to compete with the 2990WX, that's going to be fun to play with. I know the value prop is probably not there for most people, but it's going to be really cool to benchmark it and overclock it and see what it does. You're going to need a ton of cooling, obviously, but I'm happy to see Intel doing that at least. You know, if AMD didn't get back on the ball the last couple of years, I don't think we'd see basically any of this stuff. So I think it's cool that it's happening as a longtime enthusiast, you know, Hot Hardware going on 20 years. It's great to see this stuff coming again and to see sort of some excitement in the enthusiast desktop space. You know.
Absolutely. So as I said, link below for Hot Hardware. They've got a YouTube channel and a website. And thank you for joining me, Marco.
Dude, thanks, man. Good luck.
So now we have Jeff Kampman here from TechReport.com. And TechReport, of course, we have a lot of respect for. I've mentioned them a lot in the past. Scott Wasson founded it. And Jeff is now, is it editor-in-chief? Is that the correct title?
That's right.
So we've got Jeff from TechReport. Same question for you as everyone else. Going through the event, where do you want to start with mainstream or you want to start with HEDT?
Yeah, let's start with mainstream. So the i9-9900K obviously is the part that everybody has wanted. It's 8 Skylake cores and 16 threads with Intel's latest process technology and solder TIM. And that right there, if you know where Intel has been kind of behind AMD in the past couple of years, is that's what everybody wanted. It's just I have all the respect for being able to delid the chip and put liquid metal under there, but I don't want to bother with it. I just want to put it in the socket and go. And with the 9th generation chips, you can do that now, and great.
So they've accomplished that goal.
Yeah, because I don't like loud PCs, and being able to cool the chip effectively is just as important as being able to get the best performance out of it. So, also the all-core clock speed on the 9900K, I believe, is 4.7 gigahertz. It almost obviates the need to overclock. And it's just going to be a really awesome part, but it's really expensive too. So, I mean, it's sort of bridging high-end desktop and mainstream. So, as for the rest of the parts, the i5 is still 6 core, 6 threads. Probably won't be a major advance over the 8600K. The 9700K is going to be more attainable, I think, in terms of pricing, and we're just going to have to see how the move from 6 cores and 12 threads to 8 cores without hyper-threading affects the lineup. But overall, I'm really impressed. I have Z390 motherboards at home. They've got meaningful improvements to the VRM and VRM cooling, and I can't wait to get a chip in there and let it rip. So
Yeah, agreed. What about HEDT side? So there's a few new chips in there. Prices, it looks like they've shifted a little bit, I think.
Yeah. So I wasn't actually expecting X299 refresh, but it looks like that's what we're getting today. And so they've dropped the 6-core chip, which is necessary, and nobody was buying 7800Xs at this point. So now the entry level is 8 cores and 16 threads with quad channel memory and the same solder TIM. And again, none of my Skylake X chips were limited by the chip. They were limited by the thermal interface material. And it's really great now that we can probably take those chips to their full potential, because from watching your videos, we know that they have more in them than what we're getting today. And so those launch next month, I think, and I'm really, really excited to see what those can do now that they're not
constrained thermally.
I would say gimped, but and I think Intel's made meaningful improvements to the platform as well, having 44, I think Intel says up to 68 PCIe lanes for the platform on all of its parts now, which presumably means that they're going to stop segmenting, they're going to stop making 28 lane and 44 lane parts. And that was another major point of concern. I really, really hate writing about motherboards where I have to be like, well, you put this CPU in there, and then you put this CPU in there, and it does this, that, and the other. It's just like, X399 from AMD was refreshing because you don't have to think. It just what you see is what you get, and I think that's really what high-end desktop builders want. And aside from the small changes at the bottom of the stack, there are now 2 10-core CPUs, one slightly less good and one that's about as good as the i9-7900X. All of them have 4.5 gigahertz peak Turbo Boost Max 3.0 speeds. Yeah, I mean, so I think it's a really good response. They have a really balanced lineup now, if you can afford to pay for it. And that's, again, the theme here is just they're maintaining the premium positioning, and they can probably justify it. So, yeah, I think it's meaningful, but we'll have to test and see. And then, yeah, you want to talk about the
what were you thinking, 3175 or
3175X?
Yeah, sure. What do you think?
So at the top of the lineup, the 28-core part that we saw at Computex is now official, and it's called the Xeon W 3175X. The motherboards are ridiculous. The cooling is probably going to have to be ridiculous. But I think for people who are people for whom cost is no object and time is money, I think that's going to be a really interesting part. But it's going to, I'm just intimidated by the motherboards and the power requirements, and oh boy, I might have to be upgrading my the circuits in my office to handle the demands of an overclocked 3175X. But hey, it's a Xeon that you might be able to buy for less than $10,000 and put in a motherboard and actually use in a PC, and it's hard not to be excited about that. So, yeah. So I think it's been a big day for Intel. I think this is a real, they're really responding to what the new competition in the marketplace. Well, it's not really new anymore, but they're definitely responding to the competition, and I think that's great to see. So it's a really exciting time.
Absolutely. So as I said, techreport.com for where Jeff works if you want to check out their write-up as well. And that'll cap everyone. So we got everyone in here. Thank you, Jeff, for joining me.
Thank you, Steve.
And as I said, Tech Report. Do you guys do any video these days or podcasts or just articles?
It's mainly written content at techreport.com. So.
Got it. So check it out. Very in-depth stuff. We can recommend it highly. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more. We'll see you all next time.